Hey, let me ask you something. When you think about the biggest move the Cowboys made this offseason, what's the first name that pops into your head? Maybe George Pickens, right? A big-name wide receiver, flashy highlight reels, fans buzzing. But hold up. What if I told you the most impactful move didn't involve a player at all? That's right. I'm talking about coaching. More specifically, Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I get it. Coaching doesn't usually get the same hype as a star player signing. But here's the truth. Coaching might be the biggest reason the Cowboys take a major step forward in 2025. And Schottenheimer isn't just filling a seat. He's setting a tone, a culture, a fire. He's not out there alone either. What really sold some people on Schottenheimer wasn't just his words. It was the coaching staff he brought with him. Guys like Clayton Adams, Connor Riley, Lunda Wells, and Matt Eberflus. Maybe they're not household names individually, but together, they form something special. A unit that believes in the plan, that's bought in, and that's already earning trust from players and front office alike. Remember when Jimmy Johnson built his legendary staff back in the 90s? Troy Aikman wasn't just shaped by talent. He had Norv Turner calling plays. The defense wasn't just tough. They had Dave Wanstedt molding them into a unit. That success didn't come from a single voice. It came from a chorus of coaches who knew what they were doing and were all pulling in the same direction. Schottenheimer seems to be tapping into that same philosophy. This staff isn't just about X's and O's. It's about communication, motivation, and accountability. It's about creating an environment where players feed off the energy of their coaches. And that energy, man, it's contagious. So let me ask you this. Do you think coaching is finally getting the attention it deserves in Dallas? Drop your take in the comments. And while you're at it, who do you think will have the biggest impact? Schottenheimer's system or George Pickens' playmaking? Let's get that poll going. All right, now let's dig deeper into what makes Schottenheimer's leadership different from what we've seen in the past. Here's something you probably noticed if you've been paying attention to the tone inside the Cowboys building. Schottenheimer doesn't do fluff. No vague coach speak. No empty slogans. The man speaks with clarity, and the message is all about one thing: toughness. From the moment he stepped into the role as offensive coordinator, then into a bigger leadership spotlight this offseason, Schottenheimer has had one goal: redefining what it means to be a Cowboy. Not just flashy plays or viral clips. He's talking about mental toughness, physical edge, playing smart and with purpose even when the spotlight isn't on. But here's the thing. Any coach can talk a big game. The difference with Schottenheimer is that players are buying in, totally. Just listen to how players talk about him in interviews. Words like direct, demanding, but also respectful and transparent keep coming up. That kind of consistency is rare, and it tells you everything you need to know. Schottenheimer isn't just preaching a message, he's living it every day. And it's not just the veterans taking notice. Younger players, especially those trying to prove themselves, seem to gravitate to him. Why? Because when you know exactly what's expected of you, it's a lot easier to go out and play free. That's something Dallas has lacked in recent years. Clarity. Let me throw this question your way. Do you think the Cowboys have been too soft, mentally or physically, in recent seasons? Be honest, because Schottenheimer clearly thinks they've got another gear to hit, and he's pushing hard to unlock it. That's what makes this whole situation so intriguing. We're not just talking about a guy drawing plays on a whiteboard. We're talking about a mindset shift, a tone setter, a leader who wants to make this team uncomfortable in the best possible way. So now I'm curious. Do you think this kind of culture change can really lead to wins on Sundays? Hit the comments and let me know your thoughts. Up next, let's get into the most underrated part of this whole operation: the position coaches and assistants Schottenheimer brought in to help build this identity. All right, now let's talk about the guys you don't hear much about: the position coaches. These are the hands-on leaders, the ones molding talent day by day. And this offseason, Schottenheimer made some serious moves to get the right people in the room. One of the biggest signs that things are shifting? Look at the backgrounds of the coaches brought in. We're talking about guys with strong reputations for player development, detail-oriented teaching, and most of all, demanding accountability. For example, the new offensive line coach has already made waves in OTAs. Players are saying he's loud, he's intense, and he's not letting anyone coast. You miss a rep, you hear about it. You slack on footwork, you run it again. That kind of energy? That's how you change a unit from inconsistent to dominant. Same story in the wide receiver room. The assistant there isn't just focusing on routes, he's drilling in blocking fundamentals, effort without the ball, and situational awareness. It's not flashy, but it's exactly the kind of detail the Cowboys have lacked in recent years. And guess what? Players are responding. These aren't just guys who are filling roles. They're builders, and Schottenheimer knew exactly who he wanted when he pushed to bring them on board. That's the sign of a coach who's not just reacting, he's planning, long-term, with purpose. Let me ask you something. How often do we give credit to the assistant coaches when things go right? Not often enough, right? But in this case, they might be the ones holding the key to a real culture shift in Dallas. And here's where I want your take. Who do you think is the most important assistant coach on this Cowboys staff right now? Or better yet, which position group do you think has to step up the most for this team to take the next leap? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll be reading. Coming up next, let's connect the dots between all this culture talk and what it actually looks like on the field. Because what we're hearing from OTAs, it's different, and fans should be paying attention. So now that we've talked about the coaches and the culture shift they're driving, let's take a look at what's actually happening on the field. Because let me tell you, this isn't just about speeches in the locker room or slogans on a wall. What we're seeing in OTAs is proof that things are really changing. Reports out of Dallas say the practices feel different. There's more intensity, more discipline, and way fewer mental errors. Players are being held to a higher standard, and that's not just a cliche. It's a real shift in how the team operates day to day. For instance, the tempo of practice has noticeably picked up. There's less standing around, more reps, more competition. And that's by design. Schottenheimer and his staff are focused on building muscle memory under pressure. If you mess up, you fix it immediately. If you succeed, you do it again, faster, sharper. One coach reportedly stopped a drill midway just to reteach one small detail in technique. Why? Because they're not skipping steps. That's the kind of mindset that pays off in December when games are on the line. And it's not just coaches setting the tone. Veteran players are buying in. Guys like Zach Martin and Brandon Cooks are echoing the staff's messaging, holding teammates accountable, speaking up when focus slips, and setting the pace for the younger guys. That's how you build a unified locker room. It's early, yeah. And we all know OTAs aren't full-contact, game-speed situations. But let's not overlook what this means. A team that's practicing with urgency in May is usually a team that starts strong in September. Now, I want to hear what you think. What's the one habit or issue you hope this new coaching staff finally fixes? Maybe it's sloppy penalties, maybe it's the lack of energy in big games. Let me know in the comments. Next up, we're zooming out. We'll talk about how all of these changes, from Schottenheimer to his assistants to the daily grind, fit into a bigger plan. Because, yeah, there is a bigger plan, and it could reshape the Cowboys' identity in a big way. All right, let's bring this all together. Because everything we've covered, Brian Schottenheimer's leadership, the energy from his staff, and the shift we're seeing on the practice field, it all points to something bigger. We might just be witnessing the start of a brand new era for the Dallas Cowboys. And look, I know new era gets thrown around a lot, but here's why this actually feels different. This isn't about gimmicks or media sound bites. It's about resetting the foundation of how this team prepares, how it competes, and how it holds itself accountable. We've seen talented Cowboys teams before, but too often they've crumbled when it mattered most. So the question isn't whether Dallas has the talent. It's whether they can develop the toughness, the precision, and the mental edge to play consistently at a championship level. That's what this coaching shift is aiming to fix. It's not just about putting in a new playbook or calling a few trick plays. It's about building a culture where details matter, where discipline is non-negotiable, and where everyone, from the coaching staff to the practice squad, is rowing in the same direction. Think about the top-tier NFL teams, the ones who are always in the mix come January. What do they have in common? Continuity, execution, belief. That's what Schottenheimer and his crew are working to instill. And if it sticks, this team won't just be a playoff hopeful, they'll be a real threat. But here's where you come in. I want to know if you believe this change is real. Do you trust that Schottenheimer is the guy to take this offense and this team to the next level? Drop a simple yes or no in the comments, and let's get the fan pulse on this. And hey, if you've been through the highs and lows with this team for years, you know how rare it is to feel this kind of momentum building this early in the offseason. So stay locked in. We've got plenty more to break down as training camp gets closer. And if this really is a new era, you and I, we're here for it from day one.